we have to evaluate people on basically their ability. There's certain signs maybe that a pitcher has, maybe something in his delivery, something in his arm action that would say that there's a chance that this guy maybe is going to get hurt. But, I made the example the other day of the guy that we're all here to watch today, Chris Sale. There was a lot of people that felt like with his body type and his arm action that perhaps he was going to get hurt. And who knows down the road what's going to happen. But at the same time, if you don't take the guys with the best ability, you end up passing on guys that can potentially be number one starters. So we need to just go ahead and evaluate people on their ability and try not to worry too much about the arm injuries.
Doug, you know all the top kids at the top of the draft. Are you confident that at number 3 you're going to get a really, really good player? I'm
very confident of that. Yeah, there's, and I could probably sit here right now and say that more than likely we're going to end up with, a pitcher. We've got pretty much the group narrowed down to 5 or 6 guys, one of which is a position player. The other 5 are pitchers. So I'm fairly confident that we're going to end up with a real nice arm.
When you look at pitchers, high school pitchers versus college pitchers, what kind of differences are you looking at there if you lean one way or the other?
Well, I don't know that we're leaning one way or the other. You certainly look at the history. You've got a little bit more history in terms of their arm, whether or not they've made it through the 3 years of college without getting hurt and things like that. At the same time, the competition level and the arrival time to the big leagues certainly makes a difference. But when you're looking at who might have the highest ceiling, and you look at certain kids that are only 17, 18 years old and still look like they have the ability to even get better, then it's kind of a hard weighing act to go ahead and weigh one against the other. But I don't think we have a preference for one or the other.
Signability kind of important too. In terms of maybe you'll have 2 guys who are pretty even and one game may cost you a little over slot type thing, especially that first pick.
I don't think at this point in the draft, I don't think it does. I think we've been instructed to. I think we're very confident that we're going to take whoever we feel like has the highest ceiling. Now, all things being equal, if 2 guys are really, really close and one guy might afford you the ability to save $1 million, $1.5 million that you can spread later in the draft, you might. But initially, we're just looking at the best possible guy out there.
Doug, how much do you look at a kid and say, Rick, Kenny, Jerry, we project this kid to be in the major leagues in 2 years?
Well,
is that a part of it?
That is part of it, but that's really not part of it for me. That's more part of it for the people you just mentioned. The arrival time, if Rick feels like we have a core group that he feels like he's maybe going to be able to compete in 2015, 2016, then it might weigh into it. Whereas a high school guy's arrival date might not be until 17 or 18. I don't think we would sacrifice the overall ability just to get a guy there at a certain time, but it's going to weigh into it. It's going to be part of the equation, but I don't think it'll be a big part.
Do you think it's a deep quality draft this year?
I think there's a lot of pitching. I think there's a lot of high school pitching. I'm going to stop short of saying it's a deep quality draft, and simply because I honestly feel like each draft is getting a little bit weaker, especially at the college level, because I think we're having more success and we're being able to pay a little bit more money signing high school guys. So I think the overall group of college players is a little bit less than what it's been in the past. And I think that trend will continue as long as we keep signing high school players.
So you're saying because high school players haven't fully developed yet, you develop them in your system, that's why the quality of the draft is bad?
Well, I think that those kids just aren't making it to college. They're signing, whereas, 5, 10, 12 years ago, a high school kid who you weren't able to spend quite as much money on would go ahead and say, you know what, I'll go ahead and go to college and develop there. And now we're able to give them the type of money that, induces them to come sign, and then we go ahead and sign them now, and they don't ever make it to campus.
Is there more gamble signing a high school player that you don't know his potential is going to reach, as opposed to a guy that's 3 years or 3 years?
I think, whether or not you say it's a gamble or not, all these guys have high ceilings at this point in the draft. I think there's more history in the competition level that you're able to judge them against. If we're looking at a pitcher that's pitching in the SEC, which is the best conference in college baseball, and he's been successful there versus maybe a high school kid. There's one particular high school pitcher in this year's draft, I won't mention any names, that struck out 54 batters in a row. 54 batters in a row he struck out. Now, you start to think about, okay, what's he pitching against? So it's kind of hard to make that determination when then you can go ahead and look at a college guy who perhaps is pitching against other potential prospects.
What about a potential college player that's on a team with a pitcher, and the team around him isn't very good, but he has a lot of stuff? What do you look for?
Just basically the pitches, the velocity, the way the breaking ball works, just the different things that you're going to look at. The intangibles sometimes it helps you to view the makeup of a kid. If he can go out there and overcome a bad team behind him, then you know you got a quality guy versus a guy that's going to go out there and show up his teammates and throw his hat and his glove up in the air or something like that. So sometimes you can see the character on a guy like that better.
What's the worth ethic you see in a potential draft pick?
I mean, just how seriously they go about their work. It changes a lot when they get to pro ball. There's a lot more discipline involved, and right now we're done evaluating. Now we're looking at character and work ethic and different psychological things and like that. But we're kind of done evaluating ability, and now we're looking at some of the other intangibles.
Some people have said that Rodon's fastball command can sometimes be iffy, and its best pitch is his slider. Is there any concern on your end about fastball command, or you don't want to give too much away? Or
no, it's not. I don't really want to speak about specific players, but our PD people have done a tremendous job in doing things like that. If the velocity's there and if they have good secondary pitch, we feel like our people can go ahead and help out with the command and the control.
You talked about how we have 6 players. It's a cool with 5 pitchers, 1 position player. Anything you can say for like the after the first round of the draft, what the idea is after that, or too hard to tell?
A lot of pitching.
If you draft a starter but it doesn't work out, could he be the new closer?
Possibly. Our main goal is to try to draft a starting pitcher, and then, like I said, whether you can trust him with enough pitches to remain a starter, or whether you have to go and convert him. But our goal typically is to draft starters.
That's good.